All right, Infernal Blessings. We are back with another video. Before I begin, a couple quick announcements. 8th Annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference that will take place October 30th to November 2nd right here in Hollywood, Florida. The event kicks off on Thursday evening, 7:30 p.m. That'll be our meet and greet and opening ritual. So if you are attending live and in person, or you're planning on attending live and in person, make sure you make your travel arrangements to be here at that time so you can attend the meet and greet on Thursday night. I do know there's some people that can't get there on Thursday. They'll be there on Friday morning. But we had mostly everybody last year did make it to the meet and greet. So hopefully we'll see everybody at the meet and greet on the 30th. And then on the 31st and the 1st, we will have classes and workshops from 9 to 4 p.m. We will come back both evenings around 7:30, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to do a group ritual followed by a group social and a group dinner afterwards where we kind of hang out and kick it on both nights. And then we close the event out Sunday from noon to 4 p.m. with a question and answer session that I'll be doing with yours truly. You can sign up for the conference right now. If you need any more information, shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com, and I will send you information on the conference. Maybe if you're interested in a spiritual reading or a consultation, I offer various different types of readings: Klapothic demonic readings, Santa Muerte readings, Egyptian oracle readings, shadow work readings, which is always a great reading to do to see what's going on with the shadow and the hidden self. And also it's a good reading to do to point you in the right direction. What kind of ritual work you need to be working on? What about yourself you need to be designing that ritual work for, okay? I also offer deity readings to see what gods, goddesses, and demons walk with you. Or maybe you're just interested in a spiritual consultation because you got questions on the occult or the left-hand path. Or maybe you want to focus on an area of interest. Any of the aforementioned, shoot me an email, khnum19@gmail.com. Please include in that email your full availability on a weekly basis and including the time zone you're in, and we'll find a day and time that works for both of us. Don't forget to check out the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes. It's at patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. That's patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti.com. Patreon.com/Baniti. You can sign up for Tier 3 is what I recommend, because Tier 3 gives you access to the 3 private classes I do every month on Patreon, including the group ritual we do at the end of the month. Also keep in mind, when you join the Patreon page, Tier 3, you don't just get access from the day you join moving forward. You get access to everything in the archives. You can go to the page, click the collection section. You will see all the current ongoing classes with new classes and content being added on a regular basis. All right. Also, don't forget to check out the social media pages: Primordial Chaos 9 on Instagram, Primordial Chaos 2 words on Facebook, PrimordialChaos.com 3 on TikTok. That's the best way to stay abreast of what I'm doing here on Primordial Chaos, classes, events, latest happenings. So go to those platforms, please subscribe to them, and that'll keep you afloat to what I'm doing. Also, don't forget to hit the like button to the video that you're watching right now. The more likes gets the algorithm out. Don't forget to subscribe to the page here on YouTube. Hit the notification bell. When it drags down, hit all notifications so you get notified when I go live or I do a brand new video. And also don't forget to check out the Primordial Cast podcast, available on Spotify and all major podcast platforms. The direct link to the podcast, my contact email address, the social media pages, the Patreon page to sign up for classes, all are in the description box of this video that you're watching right now. All right, so somebody had sent me an email to talk about, because we just recently had an Eastern Left-Hand Path Occult class number 11. And, we're dealing in that class with Shaitan, Iblis, the Jinn, some of the left-hand path orders. We were focusing on the Ioisa order, which is I guess you can describe it as a dark Sufi order, for lack of a better word. And they deal with working with the Jinn, the Shaitan. They deal with states of transcendental states of meditation, spirit possession, bringing the spirit down. But one thing I want to focus on in relationship to the story of Iblis, right? And in relationship to you and your nature, your divinity, your mindset of being a god or a goddess or a wise, intelligent, thinking, conscious individual, for lack of a better word, right? So we all know the story. Just to briefly rehash it, the story as found in the Quran, when Adam is created of clay, right, or mud and clay, and as the story is reiterated in the Quran, Iblis is asked, like all the angels are, to make obeisance or bow down to this creation, Adam, that the Quranic God is asking them to do. So all the angels bow down except Iblis. He refuses. Right? Now, the name Iblis, it's all the titles and what the names mean usually tells a large portion of the story and what the character is about. So Iblis, which means the rebellious, he takes the rebellious part of his nature and refuses to bow down. Now, from a religious mindset, this is considered negative, evil, or wicked. And as I said before, for an example, if you go into the Yazidi culture and Al-Jibr, the Black Book, this story is related totally the opposite that you see it related, like you do in the Quran, and the same story you find in Revelations 12 with the war that took place in heaven, and Lucifer and his dragon. Lucifer and the dragon fought against Michael, and Michael and his angels fought against the serpent and his angels, or the dragon and his angels, right? So that's reiterating pretty much two of the same stories. But the Al-Jibr, the Black Book, correlates this as a test, and that Iblis was not supposed to bow down, right? Because he was not, because his gripe was, I'm created of pure fire, pure light, and this mortal is created of mud and clay. So he felt he would be surrendering his divinity to bow down to something that was inferior to him, and now even makes him spiritually inferior to him. So you can look at, there's two ways you can look at that story. So if you're going to look at it through the lenses of religion, yes, you're gonna see from that the stories of disobedience and wickedness and evil in religious terminology. Keep that in mind. But when we look at it from a left-hand path of self-mastery, the question arises, did he do the wrong or the right thing, technically? Because what is it? We embrace a concept and we bow down to nothing or nobody. Because when you're worshiping things outside of yourself, you surrender your divinity. So looking at it through our lens is a totally different perspective. We don't look at it as an act of evil or wickedness, right? And as I've said many times to you guys before, that story recorded in Revelations chapter 12, the cast and the angels were cast out of that heaven or that realm or that abode and cast down to this realm, right? Your descent was actually your descent was actually the beginning of your ascent, right? And I know that might sound confusing, right? See, when you're thinking again through the lenses and the eyes of religion, oh, but this was in some place called heaven. Well, when you understand the spiritual realm, there's many different, quote unquote, and I'll use the simplistic word, heavenly or spiritual abodes, right? When you really study the story of the Nephilims, the Anakim, or what the Bible refers to angels, you're talking about these different gods, goddesses, and spirits. You're talking about these beings that are time immemorial, right? That there were many different realms that they existed and resided on, right? And the hard thing for you to fathom and understand, you're a direct descendant in the sense that you are of the same essence that they are from. You've just been programmed to differentiate. So when I'm saying that you're a god or a goddess, I'm also saying that in correlation, you're the very same gods and goddesses that you seek out to connect with. You are of that very same essence. You've just been programmed to think and believe that you are an inferior manifestation or representation of this creation that's lesser. And now that brings me back to the Iblis story. But that's why Iblis rebelled. And in essence, when you came on this path, consciously on the left-hand path in the occult, you too became an Iblis. And that's a good thing, because you rebelled against the conformity You rebelled against the false indoctrination systems of religion and different dogmas and spiritual and educational and systems of programming. You tapped into your Iblis nature, right? So let's look at the word rebel or rebellion and rebellious in English. As I've told you before, it's very important to understand the etymology of words. I'm not saying you need to be a linguistic scholar. You've heard me say this a bunch of times, millions of times. But you do need, as a researcher, as a studier, to understand the etymology of words, especially the English language, because it's a tricky ass language. So when you talk about the word rebellious, rebel, right? You hear the word rebel. He's a rebel, right? James Dean, the popular actor in the 50s or 60s, whatever year, he was considered a rebel, and it was a noble thing. He's a rebel. The word rebel, to rebel, rebelliousness, all has root in the same thing. When somebody rebels against something or carries out an act of rebelliousness, they're going against the norm. So what you're reading in that story is Iblis refused to conform. Does it sound very similar to the story and the characteristics of Sutuk or Set in ancient Egypt? Yes, it does. So Iblis was not going to bow down and voluntarily surrender his divinity to something that he knew he was not inferior to. You too take on the attributes of Iblis when you rebel against something that you feel is not in alignment with your personal spiritual practice, or you might have your own, and I don't really like to use the word morals, and you might have your own perspective and morals on things. So when something invades that, you take on the nature of Iblis and you rebel against it. The left-hand path is a path of rebellion. It's a rebellious energy that one has to be able to tap into. Now, you might hear that on the surface, especially religious folks, and they may think, see, I told you they're evil, they're wicked, they're this, they're that. No, I don't mean it in your terminology or religious folks' terminology. But you rebel against something you feel is wrong. You can rebel against anything. When you take a vote, if you're taking a vote to agree on something, when the majority that wins that vote agree, they become the agreeable ones, and the ones that have lost the vote and maybe voted the opposite, they're considered rebellious, disagreeable ones. Why? Because they rebelled against what everybody else agreed upon. So you become rebellious in nature and disagreeable in nature. So those words are tricky. You have to be careful. So when we're saying this word Iblis, see yourself in Iblis. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. See yourself in Iblis. And I would highly recommend, if you have not read the Al-Jilwa, the black book of the Yazidis, which all you have to do is go online, Amazon, Google it, the black book of the Yazidis, get some book on the Yazidi culture, understand. Now, even when you read their story of creation, as I told you before, it's opposite into the creation story of what you're told about Iblis, and who is left as the Khalifa or successful over this world, right? So we have to look at Iblis kind of as a module or a model to what we're trying to accomplish on this path. We're trying to separate ourselves from conformist systems and mentalities. We're trying to take on the mentality and the approach of a path of apotheosis or self-mastery, right? We're also incorporating that mindset of being an El Kup, standing firm on our axis, where we are God or goddess in control, and when we're standing firm on our axis, everything is evolving around us. When we're not standing firm on our axis, then things we're being controlled. Those things are not evolving around us on a harmonious level. We're being controlled by the things that are around us and surround us. There's a difference. So it's very important that you look at, and I always said this before, when you're reading a lot of these stories or you're reading different mythologies, there's something, you've heard me use a term, I've mentioned it many times, called learn how to ritualize the mythology and the stories and the text that you're reading, right? So I do this with everything. So I could look at my understanding of who and what Iblis is and the nature of Iblis. You know how easy it is to create a ritual working that you can improve something about yourself with just what you understand about Iblis in the Quran alone. Okay? So think about it. You too are a rebellious one, right? You have to be a rebellious one to a certain degree if you're here on this path, on the occult, on the left-hand path. And as I said before, not everybody's cut out for this path. It's not for everybody. This is for the big boys and the big girls. Okay? I don't care what anybody says. They can say, oh, well, that's your opinion. That's what you're saying. Anybody can say that about their path. But the difference is there's groundwork, evidence, and spiritual practices to prove that. Because this is not a safe path in the sense where you're going to be comfortable. When I say safe, right? The reality is people stay in those lesser systems, those right-hand path philosophies, because they're comfortable. And that's okay. It's okay if you're comfortable. That's, that's your path. And as I said before, stay in your lane and you're fine. But there's a lot of people that come on this path and then they find an excuse, or as I said, something happens where they try to justify and reason why they go back to some soft, fluffy philosophical path. It happens all the time. Excuse me. So the difference is the type of work. It differentiates what you do on this path as far as ritual work, spiritual practices. The work you're doing on this path, you're not going to do anything close to it on any other system. Okay? Because this path will intentionally challenge you. Right? We don't, always look for a methodology or a way, or we never do, I should say, that exists outside of ourselves. And when that the full aspect of that falls on you, there's nothing you can say to refute that or dispute that, because succeed or fail, you're still going to be the one that's going to be held accountable and responsible for whatever those results are, whether they are results that you succeeded or whether you fell flat on your face and failed. And we don't lay blame on anything or anybody outside of ourselves. Okay? So that is a tough concept for a lot of people who come on this path to embrace. Now, I know they all come on this path in the beginning and they say, yeah, you understand it. And I always hear I'm past this and I'm past that and blah, blah, blah. And then they go running right back. I see it and hear it all the time. But anyway, to just get back on the subject real quick and to finish it off, because I could be too long-winded with this because I'm almost at my next destination. But see yourself again in what Iblis is and what Iblis represents. Okay? Don't look at the story through the lenses of religion, because then you're embracing the concept of disobedience, evil, wrong, all these religious concepts that they have stamped in your subconscious mind, right? The thing that becomes, and this is important to understand, the thing that becomes a little tricky is when you look at the three major monotheistic religions and you look at their so-called holy books, the Bible and the Quran, right? There's been so much infusion and mixture in there from different things that predate it, so it becomes a little bit overwhelming and confusing, because doing the research, it's a lot of work, and not a lot of people like to do it or have the time for it. And this is why there will always be some elements of religion that you'll constantly have to go back and address and clarify how this, that, and the third got connected to this, and how this is that, and that is this, and vice versa, and all that mumbo jumbo, right? That confusion was done intentionally too. So they figure if they juggled all that information up and mixed it in, time frames, dates, the chronological orders, all that shit, that you would never really take the time to figure it out. Right? They'd stamped their timeline of everything. especially when it comes to those so-called holy books. All right? But anyway, you get the point. See yourself and the rebellious nature of Iblis that resided within him, and now correlate that to yourself, right? And it'll open up a lot of things, or it will give you a lot of answers to the questions you formulate in your mind. All right, so Iblis, see yourself in Iblis, the rebellious one. All right, that's going to wrap it up for me. Hopefully this quick video, this tutorial helped you out. Again, if you need to reach out to me, you can shoot me an email at khnum19@gmail.com. My contact email address, the direct link to the social media pages, the direct link to the podcast, the direct link to the Primordial Chaos Patreon page to sign up for classes. All of those links are in the description box of this video that you're watching right now. That's going to do it for me. Infernal blessings, and we will talk soon. I'm out of here.